Extreme Collectibles here, exhausted. I almost did the review with my pants on, so I had to take it off. Exhausted because I just unboxed and assembled this big sumbitch. Looks like my camera's a little crooked, so I'll fix that in the awesome intro. But every once in a while, you get a statue in, and it looks way better than the pictures. Actually, quite often that happens. But sometimes it looks way, way, way better. This is one of those times. Maestro, play it. Extreme Collectibles here, and this probably looks bigger than it is, even though it's huge. That's what she said. Because the angle, the base is so big, so he's a little bit more forward on the table. But this is a custom quarter scale Maestro. If you're a casual comic book reader, this is not old Hulk. Well, it is old Hulk actually. So Maestro is not from our universe. You know, Hulk lives in our universe that we're currently in, but this is Hulk in another universe where he actually has Bruce Bane's brain. I almost said Bruce Wayne. Buckle up, it's going to be a rough review. Bruce Banner's brain. Try and say that fast. Bruce Banner's brain. So he has Bruce Banner's brain, and he truly is a grumpy old man. So he's one of those old farts that just is unhappy, very malevolent and evil. And that's why you'll see, you know, maybe you've seen comic book covers where he's battling the Hulk. He is the Hulk, but from another universe with different characteristics. One of the other things about him is he's pretty invulnerable for the most part, just like Hulk, which is why you see the concept we're going to talk about later here. He is on a graveyard of not all, but a ton of very powerful, strong, fallen heroes and villains within the Marvel world. I just got him in. It's a very low ES, very rare number. And let's do measurements really quick before I forget. So he is huge. He's probably 24 inches wide. He's probably about the same deep. Yeah, so 24-inch diameter base. And height is 24 and a half, 25 inches. This was a piece I've had my eye on for a long time, and I ended up getting it in the end because I saw some pictures and some videos, and it looked really, really good because I think the concept is phenomenal. It's actually taken from a comic book cover. Let me throw that up right here. So it is accurate to a comic book cover. And I wanted a Maestro. I have Logan Phase 4 versus Maestro coming, but that probably won't come till, you know, next year. But I wanted a standalone version, so I think he's perfect. He's exactly what I wanted, and as I said in the intro, I'm very impressed. This is a Dick Ryder moment for me. I'm very impressed with the statue. They did a fantastic job. It's not perfect, which we're going to talk about, but it's definitely an awesome, awesome piece. One of the reasons that this isn't going to be a super popular statue, even though I do believe it's sold out, is because it is so big. So the size of it, obviously the price was up there. It was over $1,000, and shipping to the US was 2 extremely large boxes, which I meant to take pictures of, but I forgot. I did do them on a Facebook unboxing, and that was outrageous too. It was more expensive than some premium formats just to get it shipped, but that is what it is. Packaging, 2 boxes. One box had the base in it. The other box had Maestro, who's all one piece other than his head. So his head comes off, which really, you know, there's no switch out, so I was like, why does his head come off? That just doesn't make sense because there's going to be a seam line. But his hair covers up the seam line, which we're getting into design a little bit. But also on the base, there's about 18, 19 pieces that go in. So, like, for example, we're going to do close-ups later, but this is Wolverine's mask. It keys in. And there's little pieces here and there, and like with most customs, there's no instruction book, so you got to kind of figure it out yourself. I figured everything out but these 2 metallic pieces. And I'm not really concerned about putting them in now because this is going with my Hulk collection at my office. So I'm going to take it back apart and take it to my office anyway. Fuck. I have like 60 unread Facebook messages in the last 12 hours, and I even read some. I can't keep up sometimes. That sounded really vain. I don't mean that as vain. I meant it as bitching. But anyway, so really cool piece. I think best one on the market. You know, there's the old Hallamah one. There's not a lot of. He's not done a lot. I think there's an old Sideshow one or XM. I don't know, but he is just phenomenal. The paint, the sculpt, and let's jump into the concept and design, which I think is the main reason I bought this. And even if the paint and sculpt weren't spot on, which they are, this would still be a pretty damn good statue. But so the concept is straight from the comic book cover. He has obliterated his enemies. So he's standing on a mountain of skulls. Some are human, some are metal skulls, so I don't know what's going on with that, if that was Terminator. But there's villains. And when we do the close-ups, we're going to talk about the villains that are there. We're going to talk about the heroes that are there. Some of them, I don't even know who they are, to be honest with you, which may not make me a true comic book fan, but I'm getting back into it. And he's sitting there, very victorious, and I love his pose. So, you know, he has pants on. He doesn't have the ripped shirt because he's always in Hulk form. He doesn't change back and forth from Bruce Banner. He has Bruce Banner's brain. But he looks malevolent. He looks badass, but he also looks like a grumpy old man. So I think it captured him perfectly. And I originally thought that this base is going to make the statue, but I think Maestro does. And I pronounce it funny. Deal with it. Now, some design stuff going on here, and I'm not going to say if it's good or bad. So first of all, the characters on the bottom, in my opinion, are bigger than quarter scale. And I was actually warned by this by the commissioner. And he said they're more close to 3.5, so a little bit bigger, because he wanted to capture the detail in there. So I think that was the right call, because if they were smaller, it would just look off. I think the scale on him is perfect. I think that's how big a Hulk or a Maestro should be, or a Rolk or whatever. So I think the scale on him is perfect. And, you know, we're not going to care potato. Like some other things, you have the thing hand right here, and let's do the scale. So this is actually a little bit smaller than Hulk, which if I'm not mistaken, or Maestro, if I'm not mistaken, that is accurate. And same with Juggy's helmet in the back here, that doesn't come off, but... So I think that is one thing with the design. The other thing with the design, and again it was a trade-off, you had to do either or, the base is so fucking big. I mean, it wouldn't be accurate. So I don't know what the right call is there. Where I was going to put him, I was going to put him on a top shelf in between 2 other Hulks. And I don't think it'll work now because he's going to be jutting out. So I got to go back to the drawing board, unfortunately. The only other quarter scale base I have that's this big, and I think this is slightly bigger, is my gray Marvel vs. Capcom Hulk. And I actually have taken that out of the base because it's just a plain boring base. And he sits just on his own. You can't do that here because the base is what really makes the statue. So that sucks, but it is what it is. Let's jump into the paint and sculpt here. And you know what, before we do that, I want you guys to see everyone that's on the bottom. So I'm going to show some close-up photos, and I don't know if the photos are going to be in order of when I speak. I'll try and match it up the best I can editing, but I edit really fast. So if a few are off timing, forgive me. But so I'm going to kind of go over and name the different characters that I see and show pictures of what I can. And if a few are off, give me a thumbs down and go fuck yourself. So sorry, I told you. Or I said that in the live video. I think I've been speaking all week at engagements, and I'm just fucking tired of talking to people. So now I'm talking to a camera. But let's jump in and look at the concept of who we have. So here we have Iron Man. We have Magneto. We have, I think it's Doc Ock's arm. We have Captain America. We have Nova. We have Thor's hammer. We have Cap's shield. We have Spider-Man. We have Doctor Strange's cape. We have Scarlet Witch. We have Red Skull. We have Ant-Man. Electro. Thing. Juggernaut. Wolverine. Doctor Doom. Ultron, Rhino, Green Goblin. I can't remember if I said that or not. And those are just the ones I know off the top of my head. So there's a lot more in here, and it's just crazy stuff going on. I love that they also added human skulls to it that you saw, but some of them are silver, and I don't know if that's just they're you know, there's rock all over them and they've gone with age. But pretty cool. So now let's jump into the paint and sculpt, and it's going to be very, very difficult to talk about the paint and sculpt of the base of all these different pieces. One of the things that's going to be quite obvious is the paint and sculpt on him are the statue itself is I don't want to say flawless, but pretty fucking good. That's the third F-bomb. Man, we should take wagers. So I worked for this big corporate company, and the president, he was in a meeting. I was on the executive team, and he was in a meeting, and it was my first meeting, and 4 or 5 minutes in, he dropped the F-bomb like 3 times. So I whispered to the person next to me, is this normal? So we did a poll on how many times he was going to say the F-bomb that day, and I chose 67. I had the highest bid. At noon, he was already over 80. Kind of funny. But anyway, back to the statue. So I'm going to kind of just glance over some stuff and show you guys close-ups and tell you the features I really like or things that I think are just okay. So examining the whole base, paint and sculpt would be like a 30-minute video. So let's start over here. I'm going to start with Wolverine, because one really cool thing they did is his glove is still sculpted cloth, obviously, but they put his bones as adamantium, his not his femur, tibia, whatever the 2 different bones in your hands are. I think that's an awesome trait. His mask is all wrinkled. I wish they would have made the mask a little bit more worn, because if his skin's gone, then I assume he's been here for a while. I like the smashed juggy head. Doctor Doom looks okay. The face does. The paint's good. Thing hand looks great, not as good as my Sheridan. I really like the wear and tear on Cap's shield and the skulls around it, from the Red Skull to Scarlet Witch. Looks really cool. Green Goblin's cape here, some cool texture on it, whereas some of the other capes they have in here don't have any. Magneto's helmet still has kind of that shine, but it's blistered and torn just like Iron Man's helmet. One thing here, inside Magneto, there's rock below it. And speaking of the rock, there's only a few places you can see it, and it looks okay. I mean, there's only, 10% of the statue that shows the rock. It's a good sculpt, good paint. Obviously, they probably didn't spend a lot of time on it because you can't see much of it, and it's not hugely important. Thor's hammer. So this part is really cool. The brown leather straps around it is complete sculpt, and it looks like mixed media. Fantastic job on that. His hammer might be a little oversized too. So now we're going to start on a Maestro himself, and I keep saying it kind of with an accent, kind of like when I was saying Majin Buu. But first, he needs a pedicure. He needs a pedicure. I was going to say, have any of the males, because 99.8% of my watchers are males, 0.2 are female, and there's some unknowns. But have any of you guys gotten a pedicure before, or a manicure? I haven't. I still keep my nails short, though. It drives me nuts when they get long. Mine are really short. Let me know if you have. Weird comment, but get into his feet. Fantastic job on his feet. I like how rustic his nails are. The nails are cut short, but they're painted this Earl Shine gray, weird color. Very rugged, very Hulk-like. And then I love the paint on his feet. So there's some yellow hints in there right along his bone lines, which they really reflect in the light. So it's not a really dark green, which I never picture this character with that. And as you can see with the sculpt, not only, you know, veinage in his foot, and they didn't paint the veins any particular color, but there is a little bit darker paint on some of the ones in the arms we're going to look at, and some black around it. And there you can see the black lining through here. But great sculpt. I mean, just they look a little bit older feet. They're huge. They're classic Hulk feet. Really nice job. And then moving up to his pants, fully sculpted, textured pants. Look fantastic. There's not really tears at the bottom. As I said, he doesn't transform. They're just kind of old pants that he's put together and he wears. Went to the Big and Tall store in the future in his universe. And then I love the texture on here. I love the color they chose. It's not purple. It's this very faded. Could have been purple maybe years ago. Plenty of folds, seams running up the side, and there's also some black streaks mixed in here. And then checking out his ass, great job just with the seam coming all the way up the side. And then at the top, again, usually this is where you've seen the torn shirt hanging. You don't see that because he's not a transformation type character like a traditional Hulk. And then looking at his torso, not as muscular as you traditionally see, and I kind of like that because he is an older guy. He's still very, very muscular, but you know, far at the older guy, I still wouldn't mess with him. I almost said fuck again. I did right there. There's number 5. Check out his arms. Fantastic job on his arms. Again, there's a little bit of yellow in there. Not much, but mostly that green and some black streaks around his veins, and then in some other crevices. I really like the musculature as well. Really well done. Great job for Hulk. And then looking at his hands, he has fucking fingerprints. That's the 6th time. Look at, he has fingerprints. And every single statue has different fingerprints, I'm told. Obviously not, but nails, same as his toenails. Then here's a picture of his back. So very hunched over, but still very muscular, very cool. Big fan of that. And then he has this gold necklace he's wearing. Looks good. I like the gold color they used. It's sticking out quite a bit. You can't tell. Sculpted, obviously. And then let's get to his awesome portrait. I like this because it's a mix of comic and realism together. Especially above his mustache, his whole head. His eyes look real. They look lifelike. Check out those eyes. There's this glistening effect over them. Looks like he's staring into my soul. And what's really cool is I think above that really shows the anger and power. You know, his eyes, he's like in a angry expression. You see the wrinkles in his head, and the paint just complements that like crazy. And then same thing around his nose and below his eyes. And you have a few different colors of green in there where the majority of the statue is the same green with blacks and yellows. There's a few different greens in here that make it pop. Then look around his mouth. If you only look at his mouth, he doesn't look as menacing. If you only look above his mustache, he looks like a pissed off character. But you see a little bit of his lip. And then as you're looking here, you see the hair. I love the strands. I love the coloring. It's mostly that grayish color and black on the edges. And that's not just around his beard, but his hair that's flowing out of the back to the side. I like that it gives the statue movement. And one of the things I said in my unboxing videos, I can't believe with all these pieces, nothing was broke. Very impressed by that. So great job to the factory and the packaging, because as you know, here where I live, parcel drivers kick this shit around. There's, man, another swear word. So I think I'm going to put a disclaimer that there's a lot of swear words in this one. 6, 7, not a lot. Depends on your virgin ears, but I'm just an asshole today. I'm sorry. If that offended you, please stop watching, but I'll be better next time. It just depends what kind of mood I'm in. But I do really appreciate you guys watching. I want your thoughts on this piece. If you had the space would you pull the trigger on this? That's what I want to know. I think it's a phenomenal piece. Like I said, it's a Dick Ryder moment for me. Really well done. I'm excited too because from this custom company I have a number of other pieces coming. I think a lot of pieces. But thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It does help me. If you don't want to help me and you keep watching, you're helping me anyway. So ha ha. But hit subscribe and you'll know whenever I drop cool stuff. I do have tons of reviews coming in. I have 3 statues shipping next week. So 1 XM and 2 customs. Thanks so much. Take care.